Hello, and welcome to Pianime Recap. As Ray is fighting the monster, he finds it to be unusually sturdy. Albert's group continues to watch while the three of them are getting unstuck. Meanwhile, Claris's group is not far off when Claris hears the howl. As she is checking it out, she remains hidden behind some tree watching the fight. Ray is about to use some of his hidden power when his friends step in to give him a hand. This gives Ray an opening to cut the monster in half. While Ray wonders what was with that monster, his friends compliment him. Claris is amazed to have seen how strong Ray was. As his group is talking, one of Albert's members mentions that Ray may not be a wizard after all. This only angers Albert and he tells his group to head out. Then Ray's group collects the final stamp, as Elisa is being carried by Ray. As they talk, Amelia jumps onto Ray's back as well and starts playing with Elisa. We then transition to Ray's group having received the highest score. Claris is the only one to be seen clapping with enthusiasm, which comes to a stop when she notices the others looking at her in disdain. Wanda and her two friends agree that it was only because of Amelia that Ray was up there at all. Amelia comments that it's typical of nobles to be like that and complains under her breath. Ray is happy that his friends care about him as they do. It has been 2 months since Ray had gone to the academy. Lydia is waiting impatiently at a window. Her maid, Carla, converses with her about Ray. As they are talking, Carla notices him coming and invites him in. After Lydia and Ray greet each other, they take a seat and begin to chat. Lydia expects it to take 5 years or so for him to be able to use his ability fully. Yet it appears using it is considered to be strictly forbidden. Lydia tells him it is, but if he ever felt that it was absolutely needed, he would have to make the call. She also mentions that she had passed the mantle of Iceblade Sorcerer over to him. She then proceeds to the matter in which he was called to come over. It regards a rumor spreading among sorcery researchers. She says she wouldn't bother with some petty rumors, but engram was a whole other matter. Lydia begins to talk about sorcery research and how she is researching the brain instead of sorcery itself. Announcing the twofold theory triggered a new movement. The part of the brain where memories of sorcery are stored is engram. Then people who do anything to get what they want to appear. Instead of using sorcery to analyze the brain, these people rummage around inside a sorcerer's brains. They have no issue about crossing the line of humanity and they call themselves a eugenics. They had invited Lydia to join and according to Carol, they have already begun reaching out to other prominent sorcerers. Having finished that conversation, they go outside for a walk. While reminiscing about the past, Lydia brings up the question about Ray making some friends. He tells her a bit about them and she tells them to invite them to come next time as she wants to meet those that got his smile to soften up. Then they discuss the upcoming Magic Chevalier. Lydia had won the event 4 times and believes that Ray could do the same if he enters. Ray says that he would rather remain in the background. A reason being his recuperation, but also to cheer his friends on. She then gives Ray a small book she believes would be of use to him. Back at the academy, Ray is out running. As he passes by Elisa on her way out, he stops and talks with her. Ray ends up asking if it would be alright for him to join her as well. Having agreed, Ray got changed and met back up with her as she had also gotten changed while waiting. Having arrived at the library, Elisa reads one of Ainsworth's books, while Ray is reading a novel about love. Given that he doesn't know much about emotions, he is drawn to learn about them. After leaving the library, they are spotted by Claris. She finds it hard to approach and tries to encourage herself. Having noticed her, the two walk over and Ray speaks to Claris. He proceeds to invite her to have lunch with them. As they are sitting at the table, Ray introduces them to each other with sweet words about them. Neither of them has done this sort of thing before. As they eat, the two girls begin to become more comfortable around each other. After lunch, the two of them separate from Ray and walk off together. As Ray turns in the opposite direction, he notices Amelia having just exited a carriage. While she turns away from watching the carriage leave, she takes notice of him. While they are talking, she becomes jealous that he had spent time with 2 other girls. She asks him to accompany her somewhere as well. They went to a clothing store together and she puts on a fashion show for him and he compliments her. As they are talking through the changing room curtain, Amelia is scared by a spider and rushes out into Ray. She suddenly realizes that she's barely clothed and rushes back in with embarrassment. Ray apologizes and Amelia tells him it wasn't an issue. Then speaking to herself, saying she may be able to show her true self to Ray someday. We then transition to Miss Gray talking with Ray. She tells him he doesn't need to be so formal as it wasn't the military. She asks him about how he is finding the life of a student to be. He gives his response and then asks if something had happened. Miss Gray simply states that she was worried as he was the first ordinary since the inception of the academy. She was concerned that the noble students were causing him grief. Miss Gray apologizes that she is aware of it and currently can't do anything about it. She's aware that even though several years have passed since she became a teacher, she had still been trying to be a sorcery researcher. She wishes she had done more as a teacher than being an aloof researcher. The conversation soon comes to an end with her telling him to come to her if he was having any problems. Meanwhile, back in Kafka Forest, it appears that Albert had not returned to school after the day Ray saved their group. It looks like he has been doing some kind of training in order to beat Ray. As Albert is yelling out into the night, a cloaked figure can be seen watching him from above with a smirk. This concludes the first episode. Overall, the story has been great so far. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We will bring you another recap.